Happy Friday morning to you. This is the Oakland County Megacast. I am Tyler Kieft in the studios of Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. In addition, today, as always, we are on 88.1 FM, The Biff, and on Birmingham Area Municipal Access. Today, in addition, we are on the Facebook page of the West Bloomfield Clerk's Office. As always, I'm joined from her home studio in a glorious sweater by Ronnie Dahl.
Tyler, today is National Ugly Christmas Sweater Day. Did you know that?
I did not know that. Had I known, I'd wore a sweater, because any sweater on me is an ugly Christmas sweater.
So talking about that, Tyler, you're lucky I'm not there in the studio, because look what I found.
Uh-oh.
Although they are actually pajamas.
Oh, no.
And they have cats.
Oh, that would have been...
And it lights up.
And I wouldn't have been able to say no either. A, because you wouldn't have let me, and B, because nothing makes me say yes like a good amount of embarrassment being possible. And that is just a glorious, lit up cat sweater. I can't take my eye off of it. I really just can't.
Right?
That is incredible.
Mesmerizing.
It's truly mesmerizing.
We had the ugly Christmas sweater guy on a few weeks ago, and his sweaters are all over the national media right now. All the shows are actually wearing them. So it's good to see some of these local companies getting the national recognition that they need for coming up with ugly sweaters. And again, their story is fascinating because, he started it in college and now it's grown into a family business. I mean, who knew there was actually a National Ugly Christmas Sweater Day?
Yeah, you see an interest and then you run with it, and that's what they did, and they've now had a lot of success making a variety of different ugly Christmas sweaters. Some of them that do light up, like those cats on that one sweater you're holding. Yes.
So, hey, we have a lot to get to here on the Friday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. So all week we've been trying to get in touch with someone from Oakland County to come on the show and talk about the vaccine and the rollout plan. But we do understand they're a little bit busy, and sometimes they can't always be able to accommodate our requests. But this morning at 11:15, they are going to go ahead and do their first vaccinations here through the Oakland County Health Department. We got the heads up on the notice that they received the shipment yesterday during the show. And so today they're going to administer the first vaccinations here in Oakland County to an EMS worker in Waterford. And so we are going to send our Erica Jones over there to try to cover that for you as well. Plus, we were able to get an early copy of the plan that
Yes.
they are rolling out there for Oakland County. And really, I've been reading over it. No big surprises, although one thing I found interesting in this, of course, they're going to be doing this in phases. So the first ones are going to be, some of the people that are working on the front lines. So, our EMS workers, firefighters, people of that nature through and then down the road. And eventually it'll get to nursing homes. And then the second phase is a mass vaccination for the entire county. And that's going to be for anyone that is 16 years and older. But reading through this, like when you go to get your vaccination, they'll have it at different places and you'll stay in the car. So kind of like the COVID-19 test, where they're doing drive-up services, they're going to be rolling out a plan similar to that with the vaccination. But again, you cannot have your pet in the car with you at that time. I found that a little bit interesting because I know that was also the case for the COVID-19 test. So there's a lot to get to on this. So again, good news though. I think for so many people, Tyler, they're seeing this as hope. Yes. At the end of 2020.
Yeah, and if you would like full details from that release that we did get early this morning from the team over at Oakland County, that is posted on both our Twitter page and our Facebook page, facebook.com/CivicCenterTV15. That is facebook.com/CivicCenterTV15, or on Twitter @CivicCenterTV.
Okay, great. That's great. You guys were able to get
Yes.
it out so quickly because we did just receive this. So thank you to, was it Larry that posted that?
That was me, but who's counting?
Well, thank you. It's one of Tyler's many, many hats that he wears over at Civic Center TV. So thank you for doing that, Tyler, though, because it is important information that so many people want to be able to understand and get the details for this. So again, you could just get that information and read it all yourself. But with that, we still have a lot to talk about. Let's go ahead, and if you want, we can start the headlines. As we were just saying, Oakland County received the first round of its vaccine. They got 1,950 doses from Pfizer. It arrived yesterday at the Oakland County Health Division. The initial vaccinations will begin by appointment only on Friday in Waterford, and it's going to be for the emergency medical service personnel who have indirect or direct exposure to patients, and to help keep emergency response systems open and functioning here in Oakland County during this time. So the vaccinations for EMS workers will continue in the coming days at various locations. And the health division is also coordinating with EMS companies and fire departments to stagger doses among their employees. Health division is also offering the vaccine to its public health nurses, who will be vaccinating EMS workers and eventually other members of the public at the county's drive-through locations when it becomes available to the general public. And again, that first vaccination is going to take place this morning around 11:15. They'll have media availability prior, and then at 11:30 they are scheduled to give that first vaccination here in Oakland County. Also making news on civiccentertv.com, downtown Pontiac eateries are going to be holding an outside event to try to benefit some of the restaurant employees. For restaurants in downtown Pontiac, holding the outdoor event this weekend to benefit the over 30 employees among the eateries. So it's going to be the Fillmore 13 Brewery, Alley Cat Cafe, Little Mo, X-Fermentation Brewery Company. They're going to be serving various menu items and beverages, including beer and wine. The event is going to be taking place tomorrow from noon until 4 o'clock, and that's going to be next to the Fillmore on Saginaw Street. Diners will be seated in tents with a fire pit, music, and a 50-50 raffle. All of the proceeds from the event will be distributed among the employees of the restaurants in hopes of putting a little extra money in their pockets because so many of them have been laid off right now due to the pandemic and the latest pause in that. So that seems like that's going to be a good event tomorrow there in downtown Pontiac, Tyler.
Yes, does look like that's going to be a very nice event there, benefiting restaurant employees. A lot of these sort of fundraisers are popping up across the country and across the state, certainly, as these shutdowns have been made at the expense of these restaurants, these small businesses, but in an abundance of caution to provide help to the public health, which has been hit so hard by COVID-19. So that trade-off is necessary, but it's also devastating for these restaurants. And any way that we can help our local small businesses, and especially these restaurants in our local area, many which make up a large majority of Michigan's small businesses, especially in our local area, anything that we can do to help is certainly going to be welcomed by these businesses, and we should do our part to help them this holiday season, as they've been hit really hard all year long by COVID-19.
Yeah, the pause is scheduled right now to end on the 20th,
right.
But it's been pretty much anticipated that it's going to be continued yet again, or even certain phases of that, including the restaurant. So they are bracing for not being able to reopen on the 20th. Also making news this morning on civiccentertv.com, the Michigan legislature has fought executive orders from the governor and her state agencies all year. And now Thursday, they took a step to deal another blow to the administration's efforts to mandate coronavirus precautions. Just before the end of the legislative session, the Michigan Senate laid the groundwork to put a measure in place to suspend any Whitmer administration order issued before the next session starts in January. So state senators approved the Senate Concurrent Resolution 36 by a voice vote without discussion. If approved by the House, it would create a committee with the potential power to suspend any rule or regulation introduced by a state agency in between the end of the current lame duck session and the start of the 2022 session on January 13th. So it's really aimed at the possible extension of this pause, and they want to be able to try to control that. But again, this is one of the measures taking place up in Lansing. We'll see if it actually gets finalized.
Yeah, it's not surprising that this has become a topic of conversation as this new method of enacting and enforcing these shutdowns has been put in place by the Department of Health and Human Services in cooperation with the governor's office. And the legislature throughout this entire process has been frustrated by the governor's office taking action without legislative input. The problem on the other side has been that once they have acquired the power to do so, they have very much like happens in Congress at the federal level and regularly at our state level, have lollygagged to get anything done, which then forces the hand of the executive branch to do something, because something is better than nothing in most cases when it comes to protecting the public health. So if they do go through with this, hopefully they have some plans in place, because we've seen before when all these regulations go away, spikes tend to happen, and sometimes they tend to be major. And with us going into the phase of this pandemic now, where we're starting to distribute the vaccine, we have a light at the end of the tunnel. This is all the more reason to push just as hard to maintain the safety of the public health. So hopefully there are some plans in place if this does go through. If this doesn't go through, hopefully we see more cooperation as we go into the new year between the legislative branch and the executive branch at the state level, so we can stop having these arguments every other week, it seems, between the governor's office and the legislature on something that's an issue both of these parties and both of these branches of our government care deeply about.
Yeah, so of course the governor is saying, hey, stop playing these games. Let's focus on getting an economic plan in place before the session does end. So we'll see how things go. But a lot to get to today on the Oakland County Megacast. Again, it is Friday, December 18th, National Ugly Sweater Day. I know, Tyler, that you must be excited to speak with our first guest.
Yes, very excited to speak with Matt Dery this morning. A lot going on in the world of sports in Detroit and in Cleveland, two cities that he knows very well.
So we'll be speaking with him at the top of the show. Dave Dulio is going to be joining us here on the show. He, of course, is the professor of political science and the director for the Center for Civic Engagement over at Oakland University. Always something in politics to talk about with the professor. Movie Magic Lakeside will be with us. Movie theaters may be shut down, but you can still watch a flick. You just have to do it differently right now. You're going old school, actually. Adam Davis, he is the owner of Davis Corporate Solutions. He'll be here with us on the show talking about so many of us are working remotely now, and what that's actually doing to our bodies and how we can change that with some proper seating and things of that nature. And then we will also round out the show today talking with Dr. James Schwartz, the superintendent over at the Avondale School District. But first, we're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast.
Hi, I'm Dr. Faust, the medical director for the Oakland County Health Division. The most important thing you can do to prevent the spread of illness is to wash your hands thoroughly and often. Follow these 6 easy steps every time you wash your hands. Step 1, turn on the sink and wet your hands with warm water. Step 2, apply soap to your hands and lather between your fingers, under your nails, and the front and back of your hands and wrists. Step 3, wash your hands by scrubbing them together for at least 20 seconds. Step 4, rinse your hands with warm, clean water. And step 5, dry your hands with a clean cloth towel, a paper towel, or hot air blow dryer. If you're using a cloth towel, make sure to change it often. For handheld faucets, turn off the water using a paper towel instead of your bare hand. Step 6, if you're using a paper towel, throw it away. Practice healthy habits like washing your hands after coughing or sneezing into them to keep you and others healthy. Go to oakgov.com/health or call Nurse on Call at 1-800-848-5533 to learn more.
Michigan, the coronavirus pandemic has put us all to the test. And now it's time to put COVID-19 to the test. As we move forward, testing will be critical. We encourage anyone who has reason to get tested to do so, those with symptoms and those without. If you are leaving home and going back to work, get tested. If you think you may have COVID-19 or you've been exposed recently through family, friends, or coworkers, get tested. Our test locator tool can help you find the right testing site that fits your needs. Even if you're looking for easy access with no cost, no prescription, and no appointment necessary, we've got you covered. Help Michigan move forward, not backward. To find a testing site or learn more, visit michigan.gov/coronavirus test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Great to have you tuning into the Friday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. As a reminder, you can catch us Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access. If you have cable, Channel 15 on Comcast, Channel 99 on AT&T. You can also tune us in on the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM, The Biff. And that is why we are the Oakland County Megacast. You can find us pretty much anywhere and on any outlet. And with that, we are going to start off the show today. The news broke earlier this week. The Cleveland Indians are going to be getting rid of the nickname the Indians, much like the Washington Redskins have recently done. And to talk a little bit more about that and so many other things sports related, let's bring in longtime Detroit sports radio host and lifetime Cleveland Indians fan, Matt Dery, here with us on the Oakland County Megacast. Matt, were you devastated by the news, or did you anticipate it was going to be coming?
Hey, Ronnie, good to see you. No, I don't think I was, devastated or surprised. I was prepared for it. I think over the last couple of years, this is kind of where this has been going with team names. As a Tribe fan myself, if you can see back here, I got my Indians flag back here. I don't know, am I allowed to take that down or keep that up? I don't know. But, it's weird because you're right. The Chief Wahoo kind of represents us as Indians fans, and it's always been this happy sort of symbol. I understood a few years ago when they took it away, and Major League Baseball and the Indians kind of decided, let's kind of shy away from it. Native Americans and certain others viewed it as disrespectful. And now, we've kind of come full circle to actually changing the name. You mentioned before the word Redskins. Boy, what a slur. It really is. And I thought Washington spent way too many years defending it. Indians, maybe not as much a slur, but I do understand that this is where we are and kind of moving on from it.
I always wonder about what's going to happen to all the merchandise.
I know, right? That's what my wife said. I got a lot of gear, but I would think right now people would be scooping it up and buying it, and then of course when the new name comes in, that people would be running to get that too. It's a 105-year tradition. It's part of me is very sad about it, but I do understand.
But with that too, what do you think they are going to rename it? Are they going to just drop a nickname like Washington did?
Well, first of all, Ronnie, if it's Cleveland baseball team, I'm gonna throw up. Come on, can we get a? They said next year for 2021, whenever baseball starts back up, that they will be the Indians for one more year. So that it should give them plenty of time to rebrand and come up with it. The Spiders is a name that's popular because that was the original name of the team back in the 1800s before they changed to Indians. Myself personally, you're having me on the show, I hate it. Please don't. Spiders, really? Come on now. I think Barons wouldn't be bad. In the mid-'70s, the city of Cleveland had a hockey team, and it was 3 years in the NHL, the Cleveland Barons. They had a cool logo. If I had to make a vote, I would go vote for Barons because there's a history there.
So, Tyler, do you want to jump in on this conversation? You're the sports fan here.
Yeah, definitely the approach has been different for the Cleveland Indians franchise and their rebranding, getting away from their current nickname, which has been their nickname since 1914, but has grown to be grown to be known as offensive to the general population, and that's why they're shying away from this and taking a much different approach to it altogether than the Washington football team had after years of backlash. Their owner, Dan Snyder, being very much in denial about changing that name or any desire to change it until the most recent events of 2020. And then the Cleveland Indians taking a different approach where they're much more welcoming to that. They're hearing the voices of the public, and then as they go into the rebranding, they are doing so in a gradual fashion to avoid that 1-year gap period where they have themselves be known as the Cleveland baseball team or something of some other sorts.
Right.
Speak to the difference in approach between what Cleveland is taking versus what the Washington football team is taking, and how that may help the fan base of Cleveland's baseball team transition into this new era. From your own personal angle as a lifelong Cleveland Indians fan, and from just a general sports fan's perspective, knowing what the Washington football team's fans are going through right now with their team being called the Washington football team.
No, Tyler, I think you bring up a lot of great points. Number one, I think the approach of ownership. A lot of Indians fans complain about Paul Dolan, the owner, for not spending enough money and being cheap and everything else. But with that being said, he's a first-class human being, and he listened to the fans. He listened to the Native American individuals that for years were protesting outside the stadium, whether it was opening day, whether it was during the World Series 5 years ago. And he's listening to them. They sat down and they said, all right, we're going to make the consideration of changing. Then they sat down with local Native American leaders, national leaders, and they made the determination that this was the right thing to do. Snyder and the Redskins folks treated this like a joke for years. People were saying it's a slur, your logo's a slur, and they just kept bumping it off until major sponsors, earlier this year said, we're pulling the plug. Oh, so now it's because of the money. So I think the Indians' approach has been definitely better. Now let's see where they go with it. Now let's see what they come up with in terms of a name and how they rebrand. But I think they've handled it the right way. Now, there's plenty of people, including friends of mine, that say, oh my gosh, it's cancel culture and this is too over the top and Indians isn't a slur. What's next? Will the Kansas City Chiefs be forced to change their name? The Atlanta Braves? We'll see. But Chippewas, because it's a tribe in central Michigan, that's been okayed. Seminoles at Florida State has been okayed by the Seminole Nation. So it's interesting.
Yeah, in a lot of those cases, you do bring up a good point that has been a conversation between those Native American tribes and those brands before they continued on with those brand names. For a while there, it was looking like the Central Michigan Chippewas may have to change their name. The Florida State Seminoles may have to change their name. But those conversations were had, those agreements were made, and it was cleared by both parties involved in order to be able to continue on with that branding. And then going back to the current rebrand with the Cleveland Indians franchise, there's a year in between now and when they would be beginning their a year plus between now and when they would be beginning their first season under their new nickname. Do you imagine that this is going to be, would you presume that with the current ownership of this franchise, that this is going to be more of an internal rebrand, or do you believe that they will heavily engage the Cleveland baseball team's fan base in the city of Cleveland, like we see when we have an expansion team come into a new league in many cases in recent years and in the past?
I don't know. That's a good question, Tyler. I'm not sure. Like I said, the Dolans need to reach out to the fans a little bit better, and I think that would certainly be an opportunity to do that. The last time they changed and went to Indians, it was a contest in the old Cleveland Plain Dealer newspaper. So I don't know if they're going to go back to that again now. And we all know, and Ronnie knows this, social media, it can get a little crazy. So, I think they'll reach out. I do believe they should, put it, not necessarily put it to a vote of the fans, but I definitely think that things will leak out. Okay. There's already Cleveland Spiders logos. There's already things that have already started leaking out. Like I said, I'm not a fan of that. I would rather be Barons than Spiders, but we'll see where they go. We'll see where they go with it.
Matt Dery with us, longtime Detroit sports radio host. You know him from his time in 13 years at WDFN 1130 AM, as well as on Detroit Sports 105.1 from 2013 to 2016, and more recently on his Detroit Pistons Wired podcast and Locked on Lions daily podcast. So, Matt, bringing it back to local sports here in Detroit, it's not a great time to be a Detroit sports fan. None of the local professional teams, especially, and even to some extent on the college side, especially on the gridiron, it's been a tough several years here in the Detroit area, and that's certainly reflected in your old neck of the woods and Detroit sports radio. But there are a lot of things to be positive about in Detroit sports also, particularly with a lot of the young prospects that we have on our teams. And let's start off with the Detroit Pistons. Things have been looking a little bit brighter as we've gone into this preseason. Certainly this isn't going to be a team that's going to contend for a playoff spot. Definitely not going to be a contender even in a weaker Eastern Conference. But one of the many bright spots they have on their team are those young prospects that they have, like Sekou Doumbouya, who's currently starting off with a great preseason, currently averaging about 12 points per game, just under a block, 4 rebounds. He's had a couple of electric games against the New York Knicks and the Washington Wizards. And then you have other young guys with a lot of promise, like Killian Hayes, who are learning from veteran players like Blake Griffin and Derrick Rose. Are things looking up for the Detroit Pistons, even though they're still very early on in this rebuild?
Yeah, I think so. I really like what Troy Weaver, the general manager, has done. He has come in and immediately cleaned house. 80% of the roster turnover from a year ago. Some surprising moves, both at, when free agency started, and also the draft. And I like that. He's injected a little bit of energy in that building. A lot of young players. You mentioned Sekou, you mentioned Hayes. Give them an opportunity. Let them play. They're going to have their bumps in the road this year. They're going to lose some games. They're only playing 72 as opposed to 82, but that's okay. If you're back in the lottery next year, so what? That organization, and I've worked for them for a long time, they refused to hit the reset button for many years, going back to Joe Dumars, when some, including Mike Valeni, who I worked with at the Ticket for years, was always begging for a rebuild. Now they have it. But they're sort of rebuilding, but with some pieces already in place before Troy got there. So I am excited about what they're doing. I think it's positive. You mentioned before about Detroit sports, and it's been rough. It's been rough. The Tigers, I don't really know where they're going. I know they're younger, but I don't see them bypassing any of the 4 other teams in their division anytime soon. The Lions are the Lions, although now them starting over is a good thing, certainly. And I think a new GM and coach should revitalize some things. And I love the Chris Spielman move. And the Red Wings, again, you're right, in a weird spot too. But I think Steve Yzerman will get it done. I just think it's going to take longer.
Yeah, the Pistons are looking really nice, and they're taking risks too, both at the front office level, bringing in some young guys with promise like a Josh Jackson, who just had a great game last night against the Washington Wizards, and taking risks on some guys that are veterans of the league but still relatively young, like a Jeremy Grant. Things are definitely looking up. It's going to be several years for the Detroit Pistons. On the other side, the Detroit Lions fired their head coach Matt Patricia finally in the middle of the season. Interim coach Darrell Bevel takes over. They also let go of Bob Quinn, the general manager, and now they're in a search for both the GM and the coach. It looks like currently they're looking for the GM first, a move that I certainly agree with. A lot of good candidates already out there, especially because they made this decision so early on. They've talked to guys like Louis Riddick from ESPN. Most recently, they interviewed Scott Pioli, the ex-GM of the Kansas City and a longtime executive scout for the New England Patriots. Right. In terms of the candidates that are currently out there on the GM side, who do you believe right now are some of those top-level candidates that the Lions should really be looking at among the guys that they have talked to already and maybe some that they haven't?
I talk about it every day on Locked on Lions on my podcast. I think they're doing this right. Yes, I said it. The Detroit Lions are actually doing something right. So that's a positive. I think at the very top, Sheila Ford, Hampton, Rod Wood don't know anything about football. Plain and simple. But what I like is that this week they brought Chris Spielman in to help them, to sort of guide the ship a little bit here when it comes to the interviews. I've been a Louis Riddick fan going back to my radio days in 2015. I had him on my show a lot, And I wanted the Lions to hire him before they hired Bob Quinn. So I've been on the Riddick bandwagon for 5 years. I like him a lot. I think he's sharp. He has experience in front offices. Do I think that's who they're going to hire? I don't. I think they're going to probably go with somebody with experience. Rick Smith would be a great candidate with the formerly with the Texans. Only reason he left Houston was his wife was very ill, ended up passing away, and he stepped away from his position. He drafted Deshaun Watson. I mean, the guy knows what he's doing. I think he would be a breath of fresh air. Look for a name like Ed Dodds. He's the assistant GM with the Colts. Their front office is structured beautifully. They can't interview him until after the season, but that would be another name that I would be very interested in seeing the Lions kicking the tires on, that's for sure.
Yeah, his draft classes in Houston were fantastic, bringing in guys like Deshaun Watson, building that team that we're seeing now consistently up until recent years be a very solid team, very consistent team that was right on the cusp of getting over the hump and being a Super Bowl contender. That would be a great pick. I also like the interview with Scott Pioli, although I'd rather see the Lions shy away from the Patriot way for a while. On the head coaching side, who are some of those candidates that you're looking at as this would fit this team as we currently have it right now, but also be able to mold into that next level, that next era of Lions football, and maybe even turn things around?
I really think the leader in the clubhouse is Robert Saleh from Dearborn and right here in Detroit, the 49ers defensive coordinator. I think he's dying for this job. I think he wants this job. He'd love to come home. He has family here. He has a big family out in San Francisco. And he's also very competent and a very good candidate. The 49ers defenses over the last years have been ferocious. This year they've lost a ton of guys, yet they still battle and compete. Kind of ironic, his name came up for the Lions job, and the next game he was on national TV and got smoked by the Rams, and it was kind of an ugly night, which is sort of Lion-esque. Remember, Matt Patricia was getting the Lions job, and then in the Super Bowl, his defense couldn't stop West Bloomfield High School. Actually, West Bloomfield's pretty good. Clarkston, name them. Okay, he couldn't stop a high school team. And then Patricia, of course, failed miserably here. He was an embarrassment. So I think Saleh would be the number one guy. I believe he'll get an interview for sure. Offensively, watch for this, Tyler and Ronnie. I think if Doug Peterson gets fired in Philly, this is a Super Bowl winning coach. The Lions will talk to him. And there's a chance that happens. That I wouldn't rule out as far as another name for head coach. Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator with the Bills, should get an interview. That offense is spectacular and very well run and very creative. So that's another name I think that would be out there.
We are joined by Matt Dery, longtime Detroit sports radio host and Cleveland radio host here on 89.3 Lakes FM, on Civic Center TV, and 88.1 The Biff, as well as Birmingham Area Municipal Access on the Oakland County Megacast. You can hear Matt on his podcasts, the Detroit Pistons Wired podcast and Locked On Lions daily podcast, as well as a fill-in host on 92.3 The Fan FM in Cleveland. Matt, just a few more minutes with you before we let you go. On top of your sports gig, you're also in another gig locally with Financial Architects, where you started in 2019 as their communication and business development director. Can you talk to us a little bit about what you are doing there and how maybe that has some parallels to your previous work in the local area?
No, I appreciate it. It's been a bit of a whirlwind for me, like we talked about in 2016 when I was let go by the then failing and now failed Detroit Sports 105.1. We've all been there. I really sort of did a pivot and decided to kind of get out of that business. There really was nothing for me here. Like I said, I fill in Cleveland, so I still have some radio that I can do. And but I worked 3 years at U of D High teaching, and loved it. Absolutely love U of D Jesuit. But at Financial Architects, my wife and I have been clients since 2010, 2011, and it's a firm that is holistic and macroeconomic. We take a look at everybody's whole picture and decide if it's a fit or not. And it's great people, and you want to be around an amazing culture and working alongside people that you enjoy being around, and that it's a healthy environment. And it was a no-brainer when they came to me and said, "Hey, listen, we need help with marketing and branding, and we want to take next steps." And they had some new ownership there, and that turned into me absolutely taking the job, and I absolutely love it. It's a great place. Introduced a lot of people that I know to our advisors to hopefully help them out. And yeah, there are some parallels with radio a little bit. They said to me, "We want to do a podcast. Can we do it?" And I said, "Yeah." And they're like, "Well, how long would that take?" And I said, "We can do it today." I said, I got equipment in my basement. I got my microphone right here. I got my stuff here. So we developed that, and we do that. It's called the Empowering Futures Podcast Network, and doing videos and stuff like you guys are doing here, webinar shows. So kind of moving the brand forward. I had like the sports background, but still the broadcasting, and I brought it to FAI, and it's been a lot of fun.
Well, Matt, we appreciate having you on. Anything else that you would like to say, or anything else you'd like to discuss before we let you go today?
Well, I mean, listen, if you're going to have me on, we haven't even brought up Ronnie's sweater today. Like, Ronnie Dahl's a local legend. We all know that. And so the sweater, see David, I can see David in Q. He's even smiling. Like this, that's top-notch stuff. And the red underneath. Come on, Ronnie. Give yourself some credit here.
But you even missed it. See, Tyler got lucky because I had one for him. I just didn't get it to him in time. It has cats and it lights up.
Oh, come on.
It's a glorious sweater.
That's big time. That's big time. I feel underdressed and not wearing, not participating. But
same here.
Next time you have me on, Lawrence, give me a heads up and I'll wear the sweater. But awesome to see you guys, and I appreciate you having me on.
Well, happy holidays to you and your family.
You too, Ronnie. Thanks so much. Thanks, Tyler.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for being with us. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast. And when we come back, Dave Dulio joins us on the show.
Michigan, we still need to stay careful because we don't want to go backwards, back to where we started. So keep standing 6 feet apart. Keep wearing a mask in public. And if you have symptoms, talk to a healthcare provider about getting tested. To move forward, let's all do our part. So stay careful. Michigan.gov/coronavirus. Michigan, we're calling on you to save lives. Don't ignore it. Don't let it go to voicemail. It's urgent. In fact, it's critical. Because if you've been in close contact with someone who tests positive for COVID-19, you may have been exposed to the virus. And you could get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department. So please answer the call to learn how to protect yourself, your family, and friends. We're calling on you to stop the spread of COVID-19, to make it safe to reopen businesses and help Michigan move forward. So if you get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department, you may have been exposed to someone with COVID-19. To protect us all, answer the call. Learn more at michigan.gov/contain-COVID. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
We're excited to have you with us here on the Friday edition of the Oakland County Megacast, December 18th. And today is National Ugly Sweater Day. I didn't just pull this out for no reason. So trying to have a little bit of fun in 2020 because it has been a roller coaster ride, and even more so when it comes to politics. Of course, this week, the Electoral College did officially affirm Joe Biden's victory. So does that mean this election is finally over? Could it be? Well, joining us now on the show is Dave Dulio, our favorite professor of political science and the director for the Center of Civic Engagement over at the Oakland University. Is this election over?
Almost, Ronnie. Not quite. We've got actually, if you can believe it, a couple more steps to take before we can put a bow on this one and call it finished. In particular, as you mentioned, the Electoral College met and voted this past week. Those votes will be transmitted now to the Congress by the end of the month. They will be opened in a joint session of Congress on January 6th, opened and counted by the Vice President acting in his capacity as President of the Senate. And at that point, then we will officially have these results that tell us Joe Biden is going to be the next president of the United States. But before that happens, watch for at least one member of the House of Representatives to challenge at least some of the electoral votes that have come in, which is something that any member of Congress can do when these votes are being counted. It is their right to challenge them. It has happened before. It happened in 2004. In fact, a Democratic member of the House challenged some results, I believe, from the state of Ohio, and those were adjudicated through the process that the Congress has, which is if one member raises that question, if a House member raises an objection, a senator must also sort of second that motion, if you will. If that happens, both chambers will go their separate ways and they will vote on whether or not these challenges should move forward. And that's really where it will stop, right? Because even if a Republican member from the House challenges and gets a senator to second that, the Democrats are going to control the House of Representatives. They're not going to vote in favor of that. It'll be done and over with at that point.
So with this, do you think there's going to be anything at all to come out of these countless lawsuits that Trump and his team have been filing across the United States? Or is that just done?
Well, I think nothing has come so far, right? And I would imagine that if there were if there were anything coming, it would have come by now, right? I mean, I think that they would have led with their best stuff. Why wait until after the Electoral College has voted to put out your best evidence? I don't think that they're going to have any more luck in the courts now with whatever's remaining than they did a month ago.
So do you think Trump's leaving office?
Oh, yeah, yes.
He's
absolutely.
going to walk out of the White House with his head held high and be a participant, or are they going to drag him out?
It'll be interesting to see if he attends the inaugural. I think that'll be a signal about sort of the maybe one of the last signals of the attitude, right? That or the position that they're going to take on this. But I don't think there's going to be anything less than a peaceful transition of power.
So with that, do you want to talk a little bit about Governor Whitmer and her relationship with Biden? Obviously, Granholm is getting a cabinet position. I was surprised Whitmer's name hasn't been thrown in the hat for anything so far anyway.
Well, I imagine that she was, I imagine her name was talked about quite a bit among the Biden team. She clearly has their respect and admiration, right? I mean, she was near the top of the vice presidential discussion for months. And I don't think if you are in that conversation that you wouldn't be in conversations about administration posts at this time of the year. So, I think it was really, I have no knowledge. My just sort of reading of the tea leaves, if you will, is, I wonder if she was ever going to leave Michigan during the pandemic, right? This has been the issue for her. This has been the story of her administration. And to up and leave the state when we're still dealing with COVID-19, we're still in the throes of the pandemic, hopefully with the light at the end of the tunnel with the vaccine arriving, but I still think that could be problematic.
Yeah, especially if she wants to come back and run for any sort of other type of office.
Absolutely. And I think you could make the same point about, say, Governor Cuomo in New York, right? Where, he's been rumored to be considered for attorney general. But again, with the state of the virus in New York and the fact that it's had such a high profile really since the beginning of the coverage, at least of the pandemic, you wonder if he would leave and sort of just skate out of town to DC while New York is still struggling.
Right. Yeah, it wouldn't look good. Definitely wouldn't look good. With Jennifer Granholm, I will say I didn't see that one coming.
It was a bit of a surprise to me too, right? And maybe out of sight, out of mind is where we go to. But she was a pretty early endorser of Joe Biden's candidacy, and you wonder if that played a part. She certainly has a great deal of political skill and talent, so she might fit in just fine.
I really have been surprised through the years that there hasn't been any talk about her leaving the state of Michigan, basically right after her term was up. She was like, bye, I'm out of here. And there seemed to be really no backlash on that at all.
Well, I think maybe it's sort of water under the bridge, right? Where, okay, she was governor for 2 terms and she's not anymore, so we're moving on to the next one, right?
You're right. But, you have these politicians and they're committed to Michigan and they're pushing for people to come here and, start a business or bring your business here. And then when they get the better opportunity, they up and leave.
Well, talking about hypocrisy among politicians is, tell me something I don't know, right?
Exactly.
Fair point though, right? It is. And I really like the way you put that, right? They try to convince people to come, yet then just take off, right? It just doesn't sit well, does it?
Yeah. It seemed though no one really cared because
Right.
she left, and then she's been kind of a talking head for so many of the news outlets since then, since she's been in California. So with that, here locally, of course, some of the local politicians or the state politicians are trying to pass some resolution to form this committee so that they can basically shut down any health orders that are going to come out in between sessions. What's the possibility of something like that actually happening?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. It's very interesting. Of course, this stems from the governor's battle with the legislature and the legislature's battle with the governor over the last 6-8 months about who has power and authority. And of course, the Michigan Supreme Court decision that was thrown in there that said, yes, the governor does not have the power to unilaterally impose these restrictions after a certain time period. And this is the legislature doesn't appear to me has gotten any traction with the governor's office to get her office to engage with them. There's not been any, as far as I can tell, cooperation or consultation, meaningful, right? Maybe they talk behind the scenes, but nothing that we in the public see, right? So this might be one of those last efforts for the year on the part of the legislature to try to get some piece of the action, if you will, some aspect of authority in dealing with the pandemic. And it's not, for me, it's not right or wrong, but it's this question of shared powers, right? We have this system where not one branch of government is supposed to have all of the power. And maybe you could disagree with it or agree with it. What your viewers and listeners can make up their own mind, right? But from where I sit and looking at it from a separation of powers, a shared powers perspective, it's the legislature trying to say, hey, we're part of this too, and we're elected representatives of the people. We ought to be part of this.
So they're talking about forming a committee. Would they, if let's say it does passes the Senate, let's say they are able to actually get this through, would they have the legal power to do anything with it?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, Ronnie. I have no idea. When I read about that, I asked sort of in my head the same question, and I don't know if this is unprecedented. I've certainly never read anything about a situation like this. In fact, we are in unprecedented times, right? In the having to deal with the pandemic for the better part of a year. Throw in the disagreements between the governor and the legislature. Again, as I said, this is the legislature trying to wrestle some aspect of their power back, if you will, or inject themselves into the decision-making process. I have no idea if it is going to be able to do what they think it's going to do. Again, color me shocked, right? It'll probably end up in court, right?
Yeah, which will defeat the purpose of why
Right.
they're trying to form this committee
Right.
in the first place. I know that it just came across my phone, the alert that the governor is going to be holding another press conference this afternoon to talk about COVID-19. Obviously, today's the 18th. The pause was set to expire
Right.
on the
Yep.
20th. So my guess is she's going to extend at least portions of that pause.
Right. And I think that there are, from a political, dare I say, Michigan constitutional perspective, I think it's very interesting to see this play out, because we have had this challenge over the summer from the legislature, and the Michigan Supreme Court did say that the governor had gone beyond her power. Yet we're seeing, what's really changed practically, right? So we have this sort of political and legal question, but then on the other side, the practical side, what's really different, right? So I think it's the legislature trying to find a way to get a piece of the action, if you will.
Right. But then you have the governor on the other side saying, hey, you wanted to be a part of this process. Now you are. Deal with it and get some type of economic package passed.
Well, and I think that's probably more for the federal legislature than the Michigan legislature. And it looks like there's a deal in Washington being made. But on the Michigan side, right, there has been, and this is not a knock on either side, but since the beginning of the governor's term, there's been very little cooperation between the legislature and the governor, right? I mean, go back to how long ago does the road fix plan seem these days, right? I mean, it wasn't that long ago, but it seems like forever ago that they were fighting over road money, and how best to fix the roads, right? If there was ever a time when you'd think that the state government could get their act together, it would be over the issue that every person in Michigan thinks is at the top of the list, right? And it has understandably been pushed to the side. But at the start of 2019, that was an issue that you would look at it and say to yourself, well, of course they'll figure something out. It is at the top of mind for every person in Michigan who drives a car, right? Or rides a bus or rides a bike, right? You're hitting potholes with everything. Yet they couldn't do it, right? And that kind of, frankly, gets to the dysfunction that is part of our politics now. It gets to the polarization that's part of our politics right now.
Yeah, because you are hearing from some politicians and they'll tell you, one-on-one, they may agree, but they cannot vote against party lines right now.
It is, it's all about the base, right? And very few elected officials want to take a risk and go against the base because it will be seen as a position of weakness, right? Rather than a position of pragmatism.
It is so funny. Like, I'm sitting here thinking, like, you have not heard the conversation about our roads come up at all.
Nope. Since
this past March.
And it makes sense, right? I mean, understandably, right? I mean, the roads will be there to fix. We need to make sure we get there first.
Right. Well, and people aren't driving like
not as much, right?
As well. Yeah. So going into 2021, how do you think coming out of the Trump administration is going to shape the future of the politics, at least for the next 3-4 years?
Well, I think it'll be really interesting to see what the specifics of the Biden administration become, right? Because the Biden campaign was built in large part, at least, on the idea of unifying the country, right? The Biden candidacy talked a lot about that. Well, now it's time for action on that, right? And because words are easy, actions are more difficult. And it is even so I think one of the first important pieces of evidence of this will be, and I just said it's words, but is his inaugural address, right? What kind of tone and tenor does that have? Because I think that in some of the speeches he's given so far, what I have heard is a call for unity and then criticism of Republicans 30 seconds later, right? And I think Republicans hear that and say, well, what are you talking about? That's not unity. That's you're punching me in the face, right? 30 seconds after you want unity. So what is it? Is unity only achieved if Republicans move, or are Democrats going to move too, right? Because really to come together, and that's a huge pet peeve of mine, right? Is elected officials and candidates saying, we're going to bring people together. I'm not sure they mean that. I think what they mean is, I want the other side to come to me.
Right.
And so we'll see what kind of deals the Biden administration is willing to make. Now, I think with Joe Biden, there's a better chance of that than with others, because Biden served in the Senate for so long. Deal making in the Senate is absolutely critical to getting anything done. His long service there, and in fact, his service there when it wasn't so polarized, right? He goes back so many years. He's got such a long history there. He was around when it worked as it was supposed to, at least more so than it does now, right? Mm-hmm. And he was part of a lot of deals that got made between both parties, because that's how anything happens in the U.S. Senate. Anything controversial, at least, right? So, and we often hear that it takes 60 votes to do anything in the United States Senate. That's because, of course, the filibuster rule that's in place, that it gets a lot of condemnation, right? And it's seen as permitting obstructionism. Well, fair point. However, it is designed to facilitate cooperation and compromise, right? Because if the, let's just play it out, right? If the Republicans have 51 votes in the Senate, if they win one of these Georgia Senate seats, if they have 51 votes, the filibuster is there to protect the minority party, right? From having the majority party run roughshod over everything. So if Republicans have 51 votes and want to do anything, they need to get 9 Democrats to come over and be part of that deal, right? That's what it's for. Has it been used in that manner all the time in the last 10, 20 years? Absolutely not. But that's what it's supposed to foster compromise. So Biden knows that, right? So, and he's been a part of a lot of that. So, you know, I think he is more likely to be a deal maker than some other elected officials, politicians that we have on the scene today.
And he's also coming in at a time where the vaccine is being rolled out. So that also takes some of that pressure and the shift away from the pandemic and puts it back on trying to get the economy back on track.
I mean, fingers crossed on that one, right? I mean, that's but even now, right, with the vaccine rollout, we're seeing problems and questions, and, you know, who's getting so many doses and where's it going next, and, you know, who's going to be in the priority ladder for who's going to get it next, right? I mean, I think that there are going to be a lot of unforeseen problems that come from the vaccine distribution over the next however many months, right, that it's going to take. I think that it's something this big in this big of a country is going to produce untold numbers of logistical challenges, and politics is going to get brought into that too.
Yeah, most definitely. Dave Dulio with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. He's the professor of political science and the director for the Center of Civic Engagement over at Oakland University. Just another minute or two with you here on the show. Anything we didn't touch on that you want to bring up before we let you go?
Well, I'll just echo Matt Dery's sentiment at the end of the last segment and talk about your sweater. It's just outstanding.
We really need to get you guys a couple sweaters.
It should be a requirement of every guest in the next week.
Exactly. I think we need to get Tyler on board as well.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
So Dave, just so you know, I'm actually a person who put on a turkey suit and went running through Sylvan Lake, because usually you do the turkey trot.
Absolutely.
And then you fit in. Everyone's wearing that or a tutu or something, but it got canceled this year. So we did it virtually through the streets of Sylvan Lake. And I had two friends. I show up, I'm like, oh, I have turkey outfits. And they're like, who has 3 turkey costumes? I'm like, me.
Yeah. 1 is questionable. 3 is...
She has a problem, Dave.
Yeah, well, yeah, you said it. I didn't, Tyler.
But you have to have a little fun. And tell you, at 2020, we are counting down to the new year. We can't wait, right?
It can't end fast enough.
Oh my gosh, I'm telling you. Well, Professor, always great to have you on. Quickly, so the next semester, are you guys going to still be remote there at Oakland University?
We're going to start that way for 2 weeks and see where we're at, but the current plan is to, after those first 2 weeks, transition to a number of in-person classes.
Oh, students will want that so much. I think
Absolutely.
For the first time, they're like, man, I'm over this remote stuff.
Yeah, we all are.
Right. Well, let's fingers crossed the numbers stabilize and go down. And then with the rollout of the vaccine, we can get back to some type of life that we used to know.
It'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Oh my goodness, that'd be the best gift for 2021.
For sure.
Well, thanks for being with us. Happy holidays
My
to
pleasure.
you
Same
and your
to you.
family.
Take care.
We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast. Still a lot to get to in the second hour. Again, you can catch us on Civic Center TV and also Birmingham Area Municipal Access. Channel 15 on Comcast, 99 on AT&T. We also want to say you're listening to us on 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Hi, my name is Kurt Lawson, and I'm the Public Information Officer for West Bloomfield Township. We wanted to reach out to you, our older adults, to provide information that you may find useful during this difficult time. We want to ensure you that West Bloomfield Town Hall, our Waters and Utility Department, West Bloomfield Parks, and our police and fire departments continue to work hard on your behalf. Information and resources can be found on the Township website, the police Facebook and Twitter, or call West Bloomfield Park's COVID-19 Help Hotline. Please remember to keep your social distance of at least 6 feet, wear facial coverings when you leave your home, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap. These precautions will help keep you safe during these difficult times.
This may seem uncomfortable, but so is being hooked to an IV, sleeping in a hospital bed, and fighting for your life. When it comes to COVID-19, comfort is not as important as saving lives. Wearing a mask can greatly reduce the chance of spreading the virus. So mask up, Michigan, every time you leave home.
Great to have you with us for the second hour of the Oakland County Megacast. Tyler and I are here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until noon each and every day. And of course, this show grew out of the pandemic all the way back in March, Tyler. And the goal here is to try to bring you the latest information because 9 months into this and the crisis is still with us. People are trying to continue to navigate it. And a little bit later here in Oakland County, the health department is going to be giving out its first vaccine in Waterford to an EMS worker. We do have Erica Jones that we sent out there. So hopefully we will be able to bring that to you as well. So many people looking at that is hope is on the horizon. But in the meantime, we still have a long way to go before life gets back to the way it used to be. And with movie theaters still closed here in the state of Michigan, catching a flick is really kind of gone old school, back to the drive-in days. And joining us right now on the Oakland County Megacast is Mike Odo with Movie Magic Lakeside. Mike, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
You know, someone like Tyler is so young, he probably doesn't even remember what a drive-in theater was.
He probably doesn't. I mean, driving's
I'm aware
been
of the
gone
concept.
for a long time.
The concept, right? So, Mike, tell us a little bit about Movie Magic Lakeside.
Movie Magic Lakeside. We're a two-screen drive-in movie theater. We're at Lakeside Mall, which is on M59 between Shaner and Hayes Road in Sterling Heights, Michigan. It's really centrally located. It's easy to get to. Within probably 35-minute drive, you got about 1.5 million people that surround this mall. There's an area around Sears. Obviously, these malls have been hurting. The traditional malls have been hurting, and the area Sears has obviously gone out, as most people know. And the area around Sears, we've redeveloped into a two-screen drive-in movie theater capable of more than 550 cars total at one time. So right now we just opened up about 4 weeks ago, and we're showing our Christmas series. It's a Christmas spectacular. You can come on out, and Santa Claus is there. Santa's waving to you. It's all in a COVID-friendly environment. Obviously the drive-in movie theaters are perfect for this time. During the COVID, we have larger spaces than normal. Normal space is 9 feet wide. Ours are 12 feet wide. Normal space is 18 feet long. Ours are 20 feet long. So you have a bigger space around you. You don't even have to get out of your car if you don't want to. We do have concessions and restrooms where you have to get out and wear a mask. But other than that, you can just stay in the comfort of your car, watch a movie. Like I said, Santa's there. Santa goes and walks around in the parking lot. Even the Santa Clauses, I have it's affected even the Santa Clauses COVID has. People, we look at all these industries that it's affected, even Santa. I mean, the Santa Clauses aren't even working like normal at the malls and things like that, although Lakeside has one. Most of the Santas aren't even working. So, we have one. He's there. He waves. He gives the kids a good experience. In addition to seeing them live, we also have them up on the big screen. So when you go to our website at moviemagiclakeside.com, you can put in a message to Santa Claus. So, little Johnny wants a train set. Well, probably not. I'm old. So little Johnny probably wants a new video game. So little Johnny wants a new video game, right? And so it goes up on the screen prior to the movie and everybody sees it. And we got Santa delivers a message prior to the movie. So it's a real interactive type drive-in at this moment with the Christmas theme that we have going on right now and through the 23rd. Beyond that, we're going to become, almost a regular drive-in theater. Christmas Day, we're pushing to play. The new Wonder Woman's coming out. Wonder Woman 1984 is coming out on Christmas Day. So we're hoping to have that up for the people, as that's the only new movie with any substance that Hollywood has released since the pandemic started. I mean, they pushed all their movies back to 2021, and actually Wonder Woman originally was supposed to be scheduled for earlier this year. They had pushed it back to 21, and now they brought it back to Christmas Day. So it's the first real movie with substance. There's been a couple other little movies released, but not much. And most of them have been released on the streaming services and everything else. This is the first real blockbuster that's being released since the pandemic. And that'll be going on Christmas Day.
So with this, how does it work with the audio? Is it piped in through the speakers in your car? Because I'm sure it's not like the old drive-in where you had the speaker and you put it on the window. No,
that was fun though, wasn't it? So
the audio was always terrible though.
It was bad. No, this is obviously the new technology where when you come into the theater, again, we have two theaters. So when you come in, depending on which theater you go to, you're going to get a radio station to turn your radio to. So, for instance, in one of the theaters, you'll be turning to a 91.3. So you turn your radio to 91.3, and the audio comes into your car. So it comes right into your car through an FM transmitter. So it's you can keep warm, keep dry, nothing hanging out your window, and audio's much improved from the old days.
Yeah, because the cars today, I mean, look at the audio systems in some of these cars.
Yeah.
I mean, they have both stereo speakers and everything in cars now. So
it's a really good experience. And the screens are large. They're 60 feet wide, 40 feet high. So they're really large. So it's really a great experience. We've had nothing but compliments since we've been open. So I encourage everybody to go to moviemagiclakeside.com and get out, and everybody's got to get out a little bit. Get your kids out. I mean, this is, as bad as the pandemic has been for me and you, okay, the youth has really suffered. I mean, the youth needs to be going. They need to be developing. They need to get out of the house. I got two 14-year-olds in here right now, and it's been terrible for them. I mean, I just feel so bad. I mean, they need to develop, and it's almost like we put a stop on them. So we need to get the kids out, let them enjoy Christmas a little bit. There's not a whole lot to do out there, but this is something that we threw out there, for it's for everybody. I mean, we have movies for everybody, but it's certainly right now during the Christmas season geared towards the kids and the families. And they need something. Get them out of the house and go see a movie with them. It's totally safe, and enjoy yourself.
So, Mike, how is that working? Are the screens permanent fixtures? Will this stick around post-pandemic?
Yes, it's going to stick around post-pandemic. The screens are it's actually unique. The screens are built on shipping containers. And we stack up shipping containers, and then we apply the screen to the outside of the shipping containers. Lakeside Mall is a mall that's going to be redeveloped. They were bought by a venture capital company out of Florida, Out of the Box Ventures, they're called, and they are going to be redeveloping that mall at some point in the future. But at that time, we are going to, what happened with that? At that time, you lost me for a second. At that time, we're going to be probably maybe just moving a spot over inside the parking lot. But right now, we're comfortable. We're going to be there for several years.
So with that, do you anticipate, though, once the movie theaters do reopen, people are going to go back to the theater? Or do you think drive-through is catching on? This is going to stay here for quite some time.
Yeah, that's why we're, from a business standpoint, we're looking at, sticking around over there for years. We believe that, COVID's hit everybody hard. It's hit everybody. It's going to take time. I mean, so many people are so, COVID has not only kept you home, it's kept you home when you shouldn't be home. I mean, it's almost instilled a little laziness in us, and it's going to take time to dust off the cobwebs and get everybody back to where they used to be. Can you imagine? I mean, we're a week away from Christmas. I mean, the hustle and bustle that normally is around at this time is nowhere near that. I'm being with the drive-in out late and stuff like that. There's no cars on the road. I mean, and you're a week before Christmas. I mean, it used to be hustle and bustle. People forget real quick. So, yeah, I believe drive-ins not only are going to be around from that aspect, but just from the aspect of introducing it to a new generation and everything else. I think it's definitely going to be around for at least another 5 years.
So I know that you said that you do offer concessions, but since you're in your own car, it's okay to sneak in the food, right?
Well, it's legal at this point for us. Most drive-ins discourage that. The reason being is the movie theater business model is you make your money on concessions.
Right.
Unfortunately, Hollywood thinks they deserve all those dollars to make a couple-hour movie. So an actress getting $20 million for a movie, Hollywood takes most of the money, okay, from a motion picture. So the movie theaters, that's why when you go to an indoor theater, okay, that's why you're being charged, $9 for a popcorn. Okay, that's the reason, is because Hollywood's taking like 75% of the entrance fee. So they have to make it on the concessions. Now our concessions are reasonable, okay, and we're trying to do it a little bit differently. We're trying to do it a lot differently. But most drive-in theaters today discourage people from being in. As a matter of fact, they charge them if they're going to bring in their own food. We don't do that at this point. We want people to come out and enjoy it and bring their families. And if you have to bring your own food, so be it. But we encourage you to buy something from us if you can afford it, because that's basically how we make our money too.
So, Mike, just another minute with you here on the Oakland County Megacast. Tell us, what's the cost for this?
The cost is very reasonable. We charge $25 per carload, and that carload or truckload means as many people as you can put legally in a vehicle. So if you have a seat belt for the individual, then that's legal. Can you pack them in the trunk like we used to do in the old days and things like that? No. We can't do that anymore. So you got to have a seat belt. But some of these vehicles, carry 7 passengers. So, you got a bunch of kids. You got 4 kids and 2 parents. I mean, that's a heck of a value to come and watch the movie for $25 total. So that's where we're at with that.
Okay, Mike Otto on the Oakland County Megacast with us. He is with Movie Magic Lakeside. What time do the movies start at night?
Okay, so right now, currently, our Christmas spectacular, which again is more than a movie. I mean, you're getting, and for the $25, you're getting the Santa message, you're getting Santa live. We start the movies early. We have 3 shows per night. It starts at roughly 5:20. Starts to get dark real early now. So it starts at 5:20. Then the next one starts around the 7:40 range, and then the last one will be showing around 9:40.
Well, great. Glad that you came up with this. It's like what was hip back in the day is cool once again.
It's funny because, I had this, I was going to put up a drive-in before COVID. Last year before, I had the idea, was talking to them all about it, and put it in the drawer, kind of like, kind of like we thought, drive-ins, I don't know, they're not really popular anymore, but I was like, I think that people would like them. So I had it on the drawing board, went through some couple proposals with them all, put it in the drawer. When COVID hit in March, I'm like an idea guy. I got a lot of ideas always. And my kids, they crack up. And I got twin 14-year-olds. And we're driving down the road. This was like March when COVID first hit. And my daughter looks at me, and she's in the back seat, and she goes, "Dad, this would be a good time for you to pull out that drive-in idea." And I went, oh my gosh, I almost hit the brakes so hard. And from then on, I started working on it, and we opened it up 4 weeks ago. So I credit the 14-year-old for that one.
Well, there you go. Well, we wish you the best of luck. It's great to bring it back, but also after this pandemic as well. It's a good way to enjoy a movie.
It is. It's great. It's great fun. Great fun.
Well, thank you again for being with us. Movie Magic Lakeside. Check them out. Go to the drive-in theater like the good old days. Introduce the kids to what is old and new and cool again. Mike Otto with us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast.
Mike, great.
As rivals, we don't always see eye to eye.
Like who scored the best recruits?
Who's going to be who?
And whether we wear green
or blue. But one thing we can all agree on, to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Wear a mask.
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 The ball's in your court, Michigan.
You guys gotta get compensated.
Welcome back to the Friday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Bell in my home studio. Mr. Tyler Keith is holding things down back in West Bloomfield. We are hoping to be able to check in with our Erica Jones, who is out in Waterford for the vaccination of some of the first EMS workers here in Oakland County. So we're hoping to be able to hook up with her a little bit later. But in the meantime, so many of us are now working from home because of the pandemic. And while avoiding the office and staying socially distant is crucial to stopping the spread of the virus, working from home can bring other health concerns such as neck and back pain. Many of the issues can be prevented or alleviated with a few changes to your working from home office setup. And joining us now on the Oakland County Megacast, Adam Davis with Davis Corporate Solutions and Erica Rukas now with us. I love the backdrop. How colorful.
Yeah, it's wallpaper, amazingly enough. But yeah, isn't that cool?
That is so bright and fun. Hey, Adam, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about.
I'm Adam Davis. I'm the owner of Davis Corporate Solutions. We're a manufacturer's rep group. Erica is one of our partners here in Metro Detroit, and we're at Resource Office Interiors. Getting ready to show you guys some tips from working from home and some products that could assist you and some ways to kind of get you by in between as well.
So Adam, how has this changed for you and your company? Because you usually focus on businesses in the office setting, but people aren't going into the office right now.
Not right now, but we're confident, you know, the office has a purpose in society, and there's a lot of people excited to get back there. And if we can take this time to educate people on ergonomics and get some habits, you know, working at home, that hopefully those will carry over to the office. And, you know, health is something that's important, whether you're working from home, working from a Starbucks, or working from, you know, your workstation at the office.
So Erica, do you want to join in on the conversation? Because if you guys could see my office setup right now, you would be laughing. It's like hodgepodged everything together.
And I think that's kind of a lot of what people are doing right now. Obviously, kitchen tables are popular for working, or you have some sort of setup that maybe your kids were using prior to you being sent home for, you know, working. I think a lot of people these days are noticing that they're having eye strain more often, or maybe headaches, just because you're working in a situation that's not optimal for your posture and for your overall health, I guess is the best way to put it.
Right. Well, and not just adults, but our kids too, because they're all remote learning.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, you got different types of monitors. You've got different heights of people. So, I mean, there's a lot of factors that kind of go into it.
There's a lot of different stuff.
What should we?
Kids and adults of, you know, home workstations right now. So, Ronnie, we've got a couple tips for you we can show you on, you know, kind of some key focuses around posture, and then the importance of the desk and the chair, and then movement throughout the day as well, if you'd like us to, you know, give you the run through.
Absolutely.
All right. So obviously this is a task chair. Many people are familiar with these because they have them at work. But what you want to do if you have a task chair is you want to adjust your pneumatic so that your legs are at a 90-degree angle. So right now my legs are kind of at a 90-degree angle. So, you know, you just kind of want to get it to where your feet are flat on the ground and you have your 90-degree angle here. And then you're going to be pulling up to your surface. And you want to make sure that your arms are also at a 90-degree angle. So that is actually promoting good circulation, as well as keeps your back in a good position. You'll want to obviously be typing. Looking at your monitors, you want to make sure that you are positioning them. So I'll move these down here. The top third of your screen is where your eyesight should be. So that your eyes are working down instead of working up and down. Say if it's up here, then I have to go like this. So what that creates is dry eyes, eye strain, headaches, sometimes maybe your neck will hurt. So getting your monitor in the right position is definitely key. Obviously, you don't have a monitor on at your house. How do you do that? You can use boxes. You can stack boxes or books even, or binders, kind of anything that you have to get your monitor up. And then if you don't have a keyboard tray, then you want to make sure that your keyboard is closer into your body so that you can reach over easily to use your mouse. So those are just a couple quick tips, but I'm going to turn over to Adam for a few more things.
Yeah, a couple more things as well. You know, you may not be able to control the height of your surface at home. So we'll obviously recommend, and you can find quite a few smaller height adjustable table units, but it makes that very easy. But even in the short term, putting a box or a book on the floor to achieve that position. So you're high enough with your chair up to the table, but you can get your leg in that neutral position. Going through some products though that, you know, would be investments to really take that home office to the ergonomic next level, you know, would be your task chair. You know, finding something with adjustable lumbar is key. What we recommend is adjusting the chair while you're in it, so you can pull it right to where you get the support that you need. The other thing is having adjustable arms that you can bring those up and comfortably support you while you're tasking. Having an arm that rotates in gives additional support for a lot of users as they task. That said, with everybody, you know, kicking back and texting as well, returning messages, having these arms for that support, you know, it's going to alleviate stress over the course of, you know, most people, I'd like to say an 8-hour workday, but we all know that it can be, you know, 8 to 12, and some of it, you know, is going to be during 9 to 5 hours, and a lot of it's going to be in the evening, because during the day you're trying to get kids on 3 or 4 different Zoom platforms for school. One other feature you have is a seat slider. So a good ergonomic cast chair is going to have a seat slider so you can adjust your seat depth. This is going to allow you to get the proper support. So if you're taller, you're going to bring your seat depth out a little bit more. So it's hitting you here in the back of the leg and promoting blood flow throughout the day. We talked about the importance of the height adjustable table. Monitor arms, I would definitely say, are key. If you have the ability to have a height adjustable table that you can move throughout the day, your monitor placement is going to be different when you're seated versus standing. When you stand up, you're going to want to adjust those monitors up so the ratio is correct for you. The eyesight or the eye strain and headaches from eye strain is very real. If you're working at home and you can get, and with laptops it can be difficult, but if you've got a monitor that you can adjust up, even by just using a riser, that'll go a long way. If you have glasses with bifocals, a monitor arm would be a great investment because you can then pull it down. So when you're looking through the bifocal to read, you know, if it's up here, you're kind of lifting your head. If you adjust it down, you can look straight on, maintain the neutral position. And then last thing Eric and I were going to speak about is just movement throughout the day. An ergonomic task chair is going to allow you supported movement throughout the day. And then even if you can't fit a height adjustable table into your workstation, moving from your kitchen table to the counter to, I'm a loud talker, so I get pushed to the garage for a conference call so I don't wake up the kids. And I've taken many a call at my workbench in the garage. That movement is going to keep your energy up, keep you, you know, your body less strained at the end of a long work day.
So Adam, a few years ago, it was really popular to get one of those balls, like a stability ball to sit on. But you don't see or hear anything about those any longer. Have those kind of gone by the wayside?
They have. I would say that was a hip concept to support movement. However, there was no true lumbar support there. A guy with the dad bod and not a terrible amount of abs to speak of, the ball would not give me the support that I needed. If I was chiseled, I could sit on the ball and be very active. But the average American, I would say maybe don't go for the ball just yet. Keep it in the yoga room and the exercise area.
And something else to keep in mind with those type of chairs per se is that it causes you to slouch. So people with lower back pain, like L4, L5, L6 area, that puts a lot of strain on it, so that your tailbones kind of starts to hurt. So the whole purpose, as Adam was saying, of those chairs was actually to help do more ab support, because it's truly an exercise ball that they just covered with fabric. So they are still out there, but I mean, it's not something in the office furniture industry that we sell a lot of any longer. Kind of went by the wayside, like the treadmill that you could, I don't even get how you do that, but yeah, so you're walking on the treadmill and you can do your typing and have your monitor and do your phone calls. Now, personally, I'd fall down and I'd probably smack my face, and then it would drag me to the carpet, and that would be the end of that. So
that'd be a great Zoom call, though, for everyone to see.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be entertainment. That's for certain. But I think that there's just those fads because people are wanting to do more throughout the day and they want to feel like they're being active, and bless their hearts. But sometimes I think some of the inventions are kind of crazy. I just saw something with a stationary bike that you can attach with monitor arms, the screens, and then it has a little keyboard tray. Not sure how you do that one either, but it's out there. There's definitely some strange things that come about in the office furniture industry.
Yeah, the most important thing is just going to be finding a way to move. And if you've got the adjustable table, that makes it very simple. If not, move to a different space in the house and work kind of throughout those spaces throughout the day. Very similar to if you look at modern office design, we're designing spaces for people to work throughout the day, not just in one station.
So how has this changed your industry? Are businesses even considering hey, let's go ahead and pay for our employees to set up an office at home?
We're starting to get some calls about that. Obviously the first thing a lot of the companies are looking at is, all right, well, how much longer are we going to be shut down, in the state? And that's usually the first thing that they kind of put into place. We've talked to some companies. I know that one of the larger companies headquartered over in Troy, they're keeping their employees home until after the 4th of July. So I think you're going to see a lot of that. So in the meantime, companies have the opportunity to reconfigure their space so that they can do the social distancing. They can, get some newer things put in or change the carpet or what have you. I know a lot of companies are supporting, hey, if you need a task chair at your house, that's fine. If you need a height adjustable table, that's fine. There's a lot of programs out there that both of us can help people with, where it gives you a package per se, and it gets shipped to your house, and then you put it together. And obviously it's a pretty easy thing, because if I can do it, then anyone can do it, sort of thing. So
we stick to the no tools required assembly products, and it makes it smooth.
Yeah.
This summer, no IKEA nightmares, right?
We've moved a lot towards conversations of, how assisting companies in safely returning to the office. However, we think this is an important segment because in the future there will be, I would say a balance, and people will be working remotely. So good ergonomics at home are going to be just as important as, when you're at the office.
Yeah, so you can take this into the office as well. What are you seeing when you're going into the offices right now? Are they trying to reconfigure their space so, people are further apart, or are they putting plexiglass in between some of the desks? What are you guys seeing?
I mean, personally for me, I'm seeing a little bit of both. One of our customers has just put in screens all over the place so that they can keep their footprint of their station, but yet in between they're having something so the next person over, they're kind of blocked from that, whether it be something that clamps to the desktop or it comes more like an L shape. I've also seen where, they're tearing apart the office furniture system and trying to reconfigure it where there is correct spacing in between one another. So I think it all kind of depends on what the company has furniture wise. Certainly reception stations, you're going to want to put that plexiglass up. And there's other things like, obviously this is glass, you can do that. You can also do like a fabric, you can do a felt. So there's a lot of different ways that I think that companies are looking at trying to do that social distancing. Obviously benching was the big thing a while back where everyone, would have like a hoteling space per se. And, everything was dropped down pretty low. And the, tall panels that would give you like standing privacy if you were standing in your station have gone away. But now I think they're going to start coming back because that's also allowing you to not have any sort of contact with the person next to you unless you put your mask on and you walk around and talk to them.
So Adam, I love the monitor setup that you have there. Where can people find those? Because that is genius.
Yeah, so this is an ESI Ergo monitor arm. We have multiple different versions. And then Resource Office Interiors, contact Erica and she'll be able to help you get one of these. And this is something that is easily shipped directly to your home.
That is so cool. I need one of those, but I have a laptop, so it won't work for me, but that is
a laptop holder that you can put your laptop on a monitor as well and use it. You'll just need an external keyboard.
Oh, okay. Cool. Well, it's been great having the both of you on with us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Certainly, if there's any other questions out there, then people can reach out to us on the web.
I'm already trying to sit up straighter and put my arms straight out.
Good. That's definitely what we want to see you do.
Well, happy Friday to the both of you and happy holidays as well. By the way, I expected to see ugly sweaters. Today is National Ugly Sweater Day.
I didn't even know that until we saw you wearing one and we were both like, oh, hey, we probably should have put on ugly sweaters. So,
although it would have clashed with the cool wallpaper you have behind you.
Right.
Well, thank you both for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast. When we come back, we'll try to check in with Erica Jones over at the Waterford Fire Department to see how things are going there. We'll also be speaking with James Schwartz. He's with the Avondale School District. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Michigan, we still need to stay careful because we don't want to go backwards. Back to where we started. So keep standing 6 feet apart. Keep wearing a mask in public. And if you have symptoms, talk to a healthcare provider about getting tested. To move forward, let's all do our part. So stay careful. Michigan.gov/coronavirus. Michigan, we're calling on you to save lives. Don't ignore it. Don't let it go to voicemail. It's urgent. In fact, it's critical. Because if you've been in close contact with someone who tests positive for COVID-19, you may have been exposed to the virus. And you could get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department. So please answer the call to learn how to protect yourself, your family, and friends. We're calling on you to stop the spread of COVID-19, to make it safe to reopen businesses and help Michigan move forward. So if you get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department, you may have been exposed to someone with COVID-19. To protect us all, answer the call. Learn more at michigan.gov/contain-COVID. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
We're clicking down to the end of the show, just about 20 minutes or so left here in the Friday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. We want to say thank you to the West Bloomfield Clerk's Office for allowing us to live stream today's edition on their Facebook page. And also, you can always catch us on Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access, Channel 15 if you have Comcast, 99 on AT&T. And also tune us into the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff. Just a few days left in the year 2020. And I bet our next guest is ready to say goodbye to this year. Dr. James Schwartz joining us now. He's the superintendent over at Avondale School District. Thank you for being with us.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, all the way back in March. I'm sure you didn't think that we would still be in this position at the end of 2020.
No, you're right about that. So your comments about 2020, no one's going to miss it. We're certainly going to see, or we're certainly glad to see it go.
But with that, it's still going to be quite some time before we actually get back to life as we once used to know it. Mm-hmm. How are things standing with you and your district right now?
Yeah, I mean, we're still holding our own with the remote instruction that we've been in through this duration. We'll be coming back in seat when the Oakland County Health Department risk level reaches a level C. Right now, we're at a level E, and epidemiologists are telling us from a projection standpoint that perhaps end of January, beginning of February, we could begin to transcend out of that level E and start getting into some higher levels that will allow us to come back. I mean, the thing about it is trying to operate in-seat school when the volume of cases is greater than a level C makes it so that you can't operate your programs. You don't have the staff because everybody's quarantining because they've either been positive themselves or they've been around somebody who has been positive and they have to quarantine, which makes it very, very difficult from an in-seat perspective to operate. That's why our board said, well, when we get to a level C, we'll have relative assurance at that point that the volume of cases will be low enough to where we can operate our programs without consistent interruptions.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that was so hard is if you open, then someone's exposed. And what's so hard for the parents is the back and forth and the lack of consistency. So for them, it might be easier to plan your life knowing that we are not going to be in class. But you also know from a child standpoint, in-person learning is so much better.
Absolutely. And we know from districts that have, attempted to go back in seat, and we've learned from the frustrations of those parents whose students were in one week and out the next, and then in and then out. And that lack of consistency is very hard on students. So having the consistency, even though the consistency is remote, in our opinion, is better than the constant back and forthness that comes in the situation we're in. But yeah, the social aspects certainly are difficult. And, we hear from parents that is probably the number one concern with the amount, with remote going on as long as it has. And so, when we're looking to bring back students, for instance, our special education students or our highest needs special education students first, we brought them back this week, actually, 2 days a week. And then following the holiday break, first week of January, we'll be bringing back more special education students. So we're trying to ease ourselves back into that in-seat on a very gradual continuum, starting with the kids who are affected the greatest, which is that population.
So we have a vaccine now. Moderna looks like it's going to be approved, and that could start getting shipped out across the country as early as Monday. When you hear the news of a vaccine, how does that play into your planning?
Well, I mean, obviously, we're hoping that it accelerates us getting out of the county risk levels sooner. The more people that become vaccinated or have access to that vaccination, hopefully will get us to where we can be in seat sooner than later. So we're encouraged by that. We'll see how quickly that both of these companies can produce to meet the needs of the masses. And the sooner they can do that, obviously, the better. We're hearing that it could be late winter, early spring, when it becomes more widely available to, I'll say the common community member.
Yeah, and I know that it's very early in the vaccination process, but are you starting to have any types of conversations that could possibly retire or require some employees to be vaccinated to come back to the classroom, because it's not approved for kids yet?
Yeah. So yeah, we're beginning to have those conversations about, do you require it? Do you not require it? Do you require it only of certain, employee groups versus others? So yeah, those conversations have started. And, obviously with anything, there's pros and cons on both sides. If you require it, if you don't require it. And, we're looking at what legal advice we're getting to substantiate whatever decision-making we're going in. So amongst the county superintendents, that's a conversation piece that we're having currently.
It's one of those things, it's so hard to be able to balance all of these issues. When we started at the beginning of this, so many different decisions have been put into place. What do you think is going to stick around once this is over, if it ever really gets over?
Well, I'll say it that this experience hasn't been all bad. There has been certainly things that experiences that we have gone through, that we have learned from, and I think that will carry forward. I think that certainly as we approach instruction, I think that there are ways that we will modify our instruction moving forward, knowing kind of where we've been over these last few months. I certainly think technology is going to be a greater part of the regular classroom when students come back. I think technology will play a lot larger of a role in the everyday education of students. Certainly not all day, every day, like it has been when you're entirely remote. But I do think that some of the technological programs and some of the things, activities that we've been doing will continue once we're in seat as a way to supplement the curriculum or even as to deliver parts of the curriculum in certain cases.
Some of the teachers have been so creative during this pandemic and trying to be able to reach their students as much as possible.
Yeah, very creative. And the programs, the different types of software that's out there to lend themselves to that creativity have just gotten better and better and better. And so I think a lot of that is here to stay, and it'll be absorbed and intertwined with the in-seat classroom work once students return.
Let me ask you, and I don't know if this is even what's happening in today's schools, because I don't have any kids, so I have a dog, and she's enough for me to handle. But when it comes to kids, like, do you think because of the technology, like maybe the good old-fashioned textbook goes away because you can now, get a textbook online, right?
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think you'll see a lot of those print resources, such as textbooks and workbooks and those types of things are on the way out. I think we're going to see a lot more that are going to be electronic, especially now since we have students that are one-to-one on devices. Since we've been able to provide that, it really you don't need to buy a textbook. A lot of, if you've got computers in every kid's hands now, that becomes your tool. So I see that will be going away probably sooner than later.
Yeah, I just remember, because I live close to the schools here, and you see the teens walking their backpacks were either just jam-packed, but some of them went as far as getting those rolling backpacks because their textbooks weighed so much.
And I still think you're going to have resource materials. You're still going to have books. But I don't think you're going to have the big textbook type of thing. It's going to be, you'll have a series of print resources that'll accentuate what you're doing online.
So we're about to go into the holiday break. Any message that you want to get out to your students and your staff while we have you here?
Well, the messages I would give for the holidays would be the messages that we're all hearing, and that is to play it smart and to play it safe, because the smarter and safer that we are over these next couple of weeks in regards to social distancing and mask wearing and all of that, even though it's so hard at the holidays, but the more that we can abide by that, the quicker we'll all be back in school.
Everyone wants that. With that too, what about the students? How are you guys handling like lunches? Are you still handing out lunches to some of the kids?
So food distribution, we still have ongoing. We have 2 days a week where we're delivering to community. So they get a hot lunch as well as food to take with them, grocery type items. So that is happening at 2 of our school buildings a couple days a week, and that will continue at least for the next several weeks.
So with that, anything that we didn't touch on, Superintendent, that you want to share with anyone before we let you go?
No, I think you covered a lot of it. I just want to wish everyone a wonderful holiday season. And again, the smarter we play it, the sooner we'll be back in school. So we can't deliver that message enough.
I should have sent you an email prior to let you know it's National Ugly Sweater Day, because yours is
Right.
very nice. It doesn't qualify.
I like that though. It's very festive. It's very nice.
It used to light up, but it seems to be malfunctioning today.
Very nice.
Well, Superintendent, it's been great having you with us here on the MegaCast.
Well, thanks for having me.
Happy holidays
Sure.
to
Thank you.
you and your family and the entire team over there at the Avondale School District.
And same to all of you. Thank you so much.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County MegaCast.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jonay Khaldun. I'm the Chief Medical Executive for the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. The people who are at highest risk of getting severely ill from COVID-19 are the elderly and those with chronic medical conditions. That includes people with heart disease, diabetes, COPD, or those who have compromised immune systems. People who are in those categories should right now be staying at home as much as possible and not going out if it is not essential. If you fit into one of those categories, those are the things you should do. And if you have a family member who fits into one of those categories, you should be checking in on them and making sure they are following those guidelines. There's something everyone can do to protect the community from COVID-19.
The Oakland. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in my home studios. Mr. Tyler holding things down back at the studios there in West Bloomfield. We want to go ahead before we leave you on this Friday and check in with our Erica Jones. We sent her out to Waterford today where they were starting to administer some of the first vaccinations. So Erica is out there right now at the fire department. Erica, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, cute sweater, Ronnie. I love the holiday spirit.
Happy holidays. Erica, so I know the event, is it wrapped up now?
No, actually, at 11:30, they just did the first COVID-19 vaccines for the media to see. So I got the opportunity to be able to see the first one being pushed. I got the opportunity to talk to the guy who received the first vaccine. So that's some great footage I'll have to show you guys later. Hopefully we can get it on the air tomorrow. Sorry about that. And as you see, these cars behind me are actually the people waiting who just received the first vaccine. So they have to wait for 20 minutes after receiving the vaccine, actually 15 minutes. And the person who received the first vaccine has already left, cleared, good to go, no reactions or anything. So everyone here is very excited today about receiving these vaccines. I've gotten the chance to talk to several people. I watched several of them being administered, and it's going very smoothly.
So what's this been like for you to be able to witness this? We're 9 months into a pandemic, and this could be the end.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Yes. So as I said, I got the opportunity to speak to the first man that received the vaccine, and I had that conversation with him. I asked him how he felt about it, and he just said he's very hopeful that people trust our medical professionals, and he sees this as a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that's what a lot of people are hearing. You know, I was thinking maybe some people would be nervous about getting this vaccine, and no one's been nervous at all. These first people that are getting it are very hopeful, and there's no hesitation among these people. And even the nurse that's administering these vaccines herself, I asked her as well if, you know, she felt a lot of pressure by being the one who is doing this, and not at all. No one's nervous. I would be nervous, but she's not at all. She was doing a great job. A lot of good things happening here today. Unfortunately, all these first people that got the vaccine have pulled off now, so we're not going to get the chance to talk to them. But like I said, I got some great recorded footage of them, and I look forward to sharing that.
So what can you tell us about the individuals that have already received the shots?
So they're frontline workers. The one man that I just spoke to, he is a firefighter here in Waterford, and he told me his motive behind getting it is the fact that he is the oldest person on his team, and he said he wants to do some cruising next year, and he just wants to get back to his normal life. So he's hopeful that by getting this vaccine, he'll be able to get back to normal life, as we all want to.
And for so many of them, because they are working on the front lines, did any of them already previously have COVID?
You know, I actually didn't ask that question. That is a fantastic question. I'm not sure, but they did have to say when they got the vaccine, they gave a whole speech saying that they haven't had it. I believe within the past 3 months, they haven't been able to have it if they're able to get the vaccine. So there are some rules and regulations on that, and we can definitely find out more information, but I don't want to give any false information that I'm not sure of.
So give us a rundown. How is this program going to work?
So the way it works right now, they don't have a super set out timeline. They have about 150 people coming in today to get the vaccine. Again, it's all frontline workers, EMS, hospital workers. Those are the priority to people they're most concerned about. It's a drive-through. People drive up. It's super simple. You just roll down your car window and they give the vaccine. They ask you a few questions. You do have to complete screening before to make sure that you're qualified for the vaccine. And then you come up, give the vaccine, and there is 2 doses of the vaccine. So before people even get this first one, they have to schedule an appointment for the second one. So the man I just talked to has it in about a month, in January, I believe he said his second dose of the vaccine is. Tomorrow they have about 300 people. So I believe you just make an appointment. They have to make sure you're eligible. And right now they don't have a timeline as to when specific general public people are going to be able to get it. It's just frontline workers right now. But as supply comes in, the county executive said we will be receiving more information on that, but the information we have right now is still very limited.
Did you get a chance to speak with Dave Coulter at all?
Yeah, so I did get a chance to speak with him real quickly just about the distribution, like I said, and unfortunately they didn't have many answers yet as to when that's going to be happening. Right now, all they know is that they're able to give it to these frontline workers, EMS, hospital workers, people who are most frequently exposed and at high risk, because we want those people to be able to continue serving safely. But I did not get a chance to have an in-depth conversation with him because a lot going on here today. And they're actually, so the first vaccines they were doing for media coverage were at 11:30, but at noon, so in 3 minutes, they have the first official appointments that aren't for media coverage. So Dave Coulter's over there now.
So I was going to ask you that as well. How are they scheduling people? Is this on a volunteer basis first?
Yeah, so it is, like you said, you make an appointment on a volunteer basis, and I don't know the specific people, but again, they told me they have about 150 people signed up today, 300 more tomorrow. So they're really doing a good job of getting these people in and out. Like I said, again, super quick. It's crazy. You know, it's like, it's no big deal. These people just pull up, roll down their window, pull their sleeve up and give them the shot, and they keep on driving. So just 15 minutes waiting here, and then they're off with their day.
Yeah, I'm really surprised because all of the coverage that I've seen from other cities in other states, they've actually had them in a facility getting the vaccination. So, but this is going to be how Oakland County is going to do it from now on, right? It's basically a curbside vaccination.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. It's drive-up vaccination, just like drive-up testing, but we're on to the next step now. So definitely something a little different. Actually, maybe we can have the opportunity right here to talk to someone. Did you just get the vaccine? Can I ask you a couple
We're running
questions?
really short on time. We may not be able to get them live.
We have about a minute left in the show,
Right
Erica.
here. Yeah. So, how do you feel to be among the first in Oakland County to get the vaccine?
Oh, this is recorded. I'm excited. I really am. It's an honor to be here to get the vaccination, and I hope that everyone else follows.
Yeah. And are you hopeful for the future of our nation and community with getting this vaccine?
Yes, I hope so. I hope the whole press release that occurred this morning, including the diversity with Vice President Pence and et cetera, kind of gives others hopes to come out and get their vaccinations as well.
Are you nervous at all? Did you have any hesitation with getting it?
I had none.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Good luck. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Erica. We appreciate you going out and covering that for us today.
Yes, thank you. I'll check in with you guys later.
So again, Oakland County Health Division has received about 1,900, just over 1,900 doses of the vaccination, and they are starting the process today to vaccinate the individuals. EMS workers will be, and frontline workers will be the first to get the vaccination. So that's going to wrap it up here for the Friday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. Thanks for tuning in. Have a happy and safe, healthy weekend.